The wind howled outside the station. Snow whipped across the metal walls, hitting them like sharp claws. Foreman Elias sat near the heater, staring at the storm outside through a narrow window. It was another frozen night on the planet Virex 9, a night when no one should be out there. Then he heard it. Knock. Soft, slow, weak. Elias frowned. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't ice falling. Knock, knock, knock. He stood and grabbed his coat. His boots crunched over the floor as he walked toward the heavy gate. He pressed the button to check the outside camera, but snow covered the lens. Again, knock. He unlocked the gate. The cold hit him hard as the door opened. Wind screamed past him. Then he saw them. 3 shapes, low to the ground, covered in white frost. Like wolves, but not like any wolves from Earth. One was big, one smaller. The last one, a pup, barely able to stand. Elias blinked. What the hell? The large one stepped forward and bowed its head. It didn't growl, didn't attack. It just looked at him, with glowing blue eyes. The pup took a shaky step forward and collapsed. Elias hesitated. They could be wild, they could be dangerous. He looked around. No one else was awake. Just him. He sighed. Come in, he said. He stepped aside. The wolves entered. Slow, careful. The big one nudged the pup gently with its snout. Elias closed the door and locked it tight. Inside, the heat hit them. The frost on their fur began to melt. Snow dripped onto the metal floor. Elias pointed to the corner near the fire vent. Stay there. They did. He walked to the kitchen, poured hot water into a bowl, and brought it back. The big one sniffed it, then pushed it toward the pup. The little one drank first. Slow sips. Elias watched closely. What are you? He whispered. No answer. Of course not, they were just animals, weren't they? 2 hours passed. Elias couldn't sleep. He sat in his chair, half watching the wolves. The mother, he could tell now it was a mother, licked the pup's head gently. The other must be the father. His fur was darker, his eyes sharp, but they never moved against Elias, never growled, never made a sound. Then, pee, please. Elias jumped. The voice was small, dry, shaky. He looked around. No one. Then the pup lifted its head. Pee. Please, help. Elias stared. You can talk? The pup blinked slowly. Protect her. It looked at the mother. She cold. Elias stood. His hands shook. This was no animal. They were people. In a different form. He rushed to the supply room and grabbed thermal blankets. He brought them back and laid them gently over the mother and pup. The mother looked at him, just for a moment, and nodded. The next morning, Elias sat in the office. He didn't call the others, didn't report the visitors. He stared at the old picture on the wall, him and his crew when they first landed here. They came to drill. Mine. Get paid and go home. He never planned to protect alien creatures, but that pup, that voice. It reminded him of something long buried. His own daughter years ago. Sick. Cold. Dying. No one helped then. He didn't want to fail again. Later that day, Malik, his assistant, entered. Foreman, did you hear about the missing heat packs? Elias turned slowly. No. I checked the logs. Someone used emergency supplies last night. Elias nodded. Might have been frost damage. I'll check it. Malik frowned. Also, someone saw tracks, large ones, not human. Elias stood. I'll handle it. Malik looked suspicious but said nothing. Back in the back room, the wolves rested. The pup opened its eyes when Elias entered. Safe? It asked. Elias crouched down. You're safe. The pup closed its eyes again. Elias reached out and gently touched its head. It was warm now, alive, and so very young. He didn't know what they were, but he knew one thing. They needed him. Elias didn't sleep the next night either. He stayed near the door watching the wolf family. The mother was breathing better now. Her chest rose slow and steady under the thermal blanket. The father never rested, always alert. His glowing blue eyes followed Elias wherever he moved. But the pup was different. It moved like a baby. But it looked at Elias like it was older, like it understood too much for its age, and sometimes it whispered in its soft, broken voice, "Thank you." Elias didn't reply. He couldn't. Every time he heard the voice, it felt like something heavy landed on his chest. These weren't animals. They were people. In the early hours of morning, Malik returned. He carried a scanner and had a hard look on his face. "Foreman," he said, "the mining chief sent a message. Syndicate patrols are coming, looking for missing life forms." Elias tensed. "Why?" "Something escaped their bio facility. They said it was dangerous. 4 legs, sharp claws. Might be hiding out near worker sites." Elias didn't move. "Did they say who escaped?" "No, just that if anyone finds them, we're supposed to report immediately." Malik looked closer at Elias. "You seen anything, boss?" Elias stared at the floor. "Nothing but snow and scrap," he said flatly. That night the pup spoke again. "Bad. One's coming." Elias turned. "You saw them before?" The pup nodded slowly. "They took us, caged us, burned our minds, made Mama scream." The mother made a soft growl. "She still hurts," the pup added. Elias leaned forward. "Why did you run?" The father wolf stepped forward for the first time. He stood tall, taller than Elias now, and his voice came deep and steady. "We were meant to be weapons, for war. But we are not tools." The mother added softly, "We were once more than that, long ago." Elias frowned. "More than what?" the pup whispered. "Royal." Elias blinked. "What?" The father nodded slowly. "We come from a long bloodline, protectors of flame and snow. We served the old ones. Then we were taken, changed, trapped. Now they hunt us." Elias rubbed his face. This wasn't just a family of wild animals. They were survivors of something terrible, something secret. He stood up and turned to the storage unit. He pulled out more supplies, canned food, power packs, blankets. "If you stay here, the patrols will find you," Elias said. "Where can we go?" the mother asked. Elias looked toward the eastern cliffs. "There's an old mining shaft, unused, hidden. You'll be safe there. For now." The father bowed his head. "We trust you." Just as they were about to move, loud knocking came at the main gate. Bang, bang, bang. Malik's voice called out, "Foreman, patrol team just landed. They're at the South Hill." Elias swore under his breath. "They're early." He turned to the wolves. "Go now. Out the back." He unlocked the tunnel behind the base and pointed the way. "Follow the pipes until you see the broken drill tower. Go past it. The shaft is there." The father gently lifted the mother. The pup followed closely behind, eyes glowing with worry. Elias knelt and looked the pup in the eyes. "You stay safe, little one." The pup touched its forehead to his hand. "You have good heart." The wolves vanished into the tunnel. Minutes later, 2 syndicate guards entered the outpost, clad in black armor, faces hidden behind visors. One of them spoke coldly. "Foreman, Elias. Have you seen any wild movement?" Elias crossed his arms. "Nothing but the storm." The second guard activated a scanner. It buzzed red for a moment, then stopped. Scanner picks up recent lifeform trails. Non-human. Elias stepped forward. "This is a mining camp. There's creatures all over the hills. Want me to go dig up tracks for you too?" The guards stared at him. The first one finally said, "If you see anything, report." They left without another word. Later that night, Elias walked alone through the storm. He followed the path toward the old shaft. At the base of the cliff, he found the pup waiting. Snow on its fur, eyes glowing bright. "You came," it said. "I wanted to be sure you were safe." The pup looked behind. The mother and father rested near a heat lamp Elias had dropped off earlier. Then the pup stepped closer. "Not all humans. Bad." Elias smiled faintly. "Not all wolves either." But as he turned to leave, he saw something in the snow. A small black chip, a tracker, and it blinked red. His heart sank. They had been marked. The tiny red light blinked slowly in Elias's palm. A tracker, thin, sharp-edged, and meant to be hidden. It had likely been pressed into the pup's fur during captivity. Elias's chest tightened. He looked up at the small den where the wolf family now slept under old mining tarps. Snow covered everything, but the air inside glowed warm from the heat pack he had left earlier. They had only just started to breathe freely, and now someone was already coming. Back at the station, Elias locked himself in his office. He slammed the tracker on the table and stared at it. "Syndicate tech," he muttered. "High-end, silent beacon, real-time. They could already be close." He didn't have much time. The next morning, Malik returned again, this time with a pale face. "Boss, a ship landed west of us, unmarked." Elias looked up slowly. "Did you see who stepped out?" Malik nodded nervously. "Only one guy. Tall, black armor. He had something on a leash. Looked wrong." Elias stood up. The tracker worked. Malik blinked. "What tracker?" Elias didn't answer. He grabbed his coat and tool belt. "Where are you going?" Malik asked. "To clean up a mistake," Elias said, "before that thing finds them." Far across the ice fields, the syndicate hunter walked alone. Tall, silent, armor black as night. A long weapon strapped to his back. Beside him walked a monster, part machine, part beast, red eyes, steel legs, a long snout that sniffed the snow as they moved. "Still warm," the hunter said softly, touching the ground. He tapped his wrist. Small map appeared in the air. A blinking dot showed the tracker's signal. "Close now." Inside the cliff den, the pup looked up suddenly. "Someone is near," the father growled, stepping in front of the entrance. The mother pulled the pup close, eyes wide with fear. Then, footsteps. Not heavy. Human. Elias climbed down the rocks and entered the den. His face was serious. "We have to move." The pup tilted its head. "Why?" "You were tagged. That blinking thing on your shoulder. It's how they found you." The father snarled softly. "I didn't know," the pup whispered, ashamed. Elias knelt down and gently removed what was left of the tracker. He crushed it under his boot. "It's not your fault," he said. "They did this to you." Suddenly, a sharp noise echoed outside. Clang! Something metallic had landed at the top of the cliff. Elias rushed to the edge. The black-armored hunter stood on the ridge, his red-eyed beast beside him. They looked down without speaking. Then, the beast opened its mouth and howled. A deep, cold sound that made Elias's bones shake. The father wolf roared in return. He stepped out from the den and stood tall against the snow. His body shimmered with white energy, his breath steaming like fire. But the hunter only smiled beneath his helmet. "I want the pup," he said calmly. Elias stepped beside the wolf father. "You'll have to go through me first," the hunter tilted his head. "You're just a man." "No," Elias said, gripping a heavy tool from his belt. "I'm a foreman. I build things. I fix what others break. And right now," he stepped forward, "I'm about to fix you." The battle began. The beast charged first, metal paws thundering across the snow. The wolf father leapt, meeting it mid-air. They crashed down in a storm of fur and metal. The mother wolf stood behind, weak but fierce, eyes locked on her pup. Elias moved fast, swinging his heavy tool at the hunter. Sparks flew as metal hit armor. "You protect beasts now?" the hunter sneered. "I protect family," Elias growled. The hunter's blade flashed, but Elias ducked and jabbed him with an electric drill spike. It shocked the hunter, making him stumble back. Behind them, the pup cried out. His eyes glowed bright white. "Stop hurting them," he shouted. And then, it happened. A pulse of light burst from his chest, freezing the air around him. Snowflakes stopped mid-air. Time slowed. The mother gasped. "The flame!" Elias stared. "What's happening?" The pup's body hovered slightly above the ground. His fur lit up like fire and ice combined. Then he fell, unconscious. The enemy beast froze solid. The hunter stumbled back, shielding his eyes. "What was that?" he hissed. But Elias didn't let him answer. He slammed the tool straight into the hunter's chest, knocking him backward off the ridge. The hunter disappeared into the snow below. The silence that followed was deep. The father limped back into the den. The mother crawled to the pup and pulled him close. Elias dropped to his knees, breathing hard. What is he?" the mother whispered. "More than we ever knew." The wind outside howled like a hungry animal, but inside the den, everything was still. The pup lay in the mother's arms, unconscious. His small body no longer glowed, but steam still rose from his fur. His breath came slow, shallow. Elias sat beside him, staring. "What was that light?" he asked quietly. The mother didn't answer right away. Her eyes were locked on her son. Then she said softly, "He was born during an eclipse. The stars burned red that night. They said he might carry the ember." Elias frowned. "What's the ember?" The father spoke now, his voice rough from the fight. "A gift, or a curse, power once carried by kings and queens, long forgotten." Elias looked at the pup again. That little creature, no bigger than a sack of tools, had just frozen a beast with a single shout. Far below the cliff, the syndicate hunter pulled himself from the snow. His armor was cracked, one leg bent wrong, but he smiled. The tracker was destroyed. His beast was frozen. But the pup's power had awakened, and that meant only one thing. The ember was real. He tapped his communicator. "Send the others," he hissed. "The air is alive." Back in the den, Elias stood up. "We need to get out of here." The mother weakly raised her head. "Where?" Elias looked out the cave entrance. Snow blew across the land like a white river. There were no clear paths, no shelter. But then he remembered. "There's a transport tunnel, half built. We stopped using it last year, but it connects straight to the old freight yard." The father nodded. "It will be enough." Elias turned to the pup. "Can he be moved?" The mother didn't speak. She just wrapped him tighter in the blanket and lifted him gently with her teeth. The journey was hard. The tunnel had collapsed in parts. Elias had to dig through ice and pull open frozen doors. The wolves followed close, silent and alert. Twice they heard sounds behind them. Echoes, metal clanging, distant growls. The syndicate was coming, but Elias pushed forward. When they reached the freight yard, it was worse than he remembered. Rusted crates, broken lights, cold metal floors. But it was shelter. He found an old workbench and cleared space. The mother placed the pup down carefully, still breathing, still glowing faintly. Elias stood at the edge of the yard and looked out through a broken wall. He saw them. Black, shapes moving across the snow, more than before. 10, maybe more. All wearing dark armor, syndicate hunters. "They're coming fast," Elias said. The father's fur bristled. "Then we must awaken him." Elias turned. "How?" The father walked to his son and placed his paw on the pup's chest. Then, he closed his eyes. He began to hum, not words, but a sound like wind over fire. Low, strong. The mother joined in. Their voices became a song, ancient and wild. Elias felt it inside his bones. The pup stirred. His paws twitched, then his eyes snapped. "Open," White fire burst from his chest again, but it didn't spread this time. It stayed around him, glowing like armor. The father opened his eyes. It is time. The pup stood up slowly. His legs were shaky, but his gaze was clear. Elias knelt beside him. Can you understand me? The pup looked into his eyes. You protected me. I remember. Elias smiled even as the ground shook under syndicate boots. I'm just a man, he said. The pup blinked. You are more. You are brave. The hunters arrived. They surrounded the freight yard, weapons raised. Give us the ember, one shouted, or burn with it. Elias stood tall. He picked up an old plasma cutter from the workbench. No. The pup stepped beside him. I'll burn them instead, he said, his voice louder now, clear and powerful. His eyes glowed like twin stars. The air changed. It grew hot, even in the freezing cold. Flames danced across the pup's back, flickering, like a living cloak. The wolves stood behind him. Elias, alone but unshaken, gripped his tool like a sword. Then the snow exploded. Fire shot forward. Not from the sky, not from machines, but from the heart of the pup. The syndicate screamed as their weapons melted in their hands. The blast didn't kill. It warned. Stay away. The fire died down. Silence returned. The hunters were gone. Later that night, Elias sat by the crate, his face lit by a small lamp. The pup curled beside him. You saved us, Elias said. The pup looked up. No, he replied. We saved each other. The flames had gone. The hunters had run. But Elias knew it wasn't over. He stood at the edge of the freight yard, staring into the frozen dark. The wind had stopped howling. For now. The silence was worse than the storm. It felt like the world was holding its breath. Behind him, the wolves rested. The mother's wounds had reopened, but she refused to sleep. The father sat tall, guarding the tunnel. The pup, now awake and glowing faintly, lay curled beside a heat lamp. He looked peaceful, but Elias could still see the weight in his eyes. That pup had power, and that meant danger was never far behind. Malik arrived at dawn. He came in a hover skiff, headlights flashing through the ice. Elias stepped outside to meet him. You've got trouble, Malik said without stepping down. Syndicate isn't gone. That blast scared them, sure, but they've called for reinforcements. Elias crossed his arms. How long? Hours. A full team is coming. Dropships, drones, heavy fire. Malik looked nervous. You have to turn them in, Elias. Elias shook his head. They're not criminals. They're fugitives. Weapons. That pup, he could destroy the whole camp if he lost control. He didn't, Elias said softly. He protected us. Malik hesitated, then he said, So, you're going to fight? Elias nodded. Alone, if I have to. Back inside, Elias gathered what he could. Tools, old gear, a rusted power saw, a few grenades from the emergency locker. The father wolf watched him quietly. You prepare for death? The father asked. No, Elias said. I prepare for resistance. The pup stood too, wobbly but determined. I want to help. You already did, Elias said. But if anything happens, take your mother and run. The pup frowned. We don't run anymore. By noon they heard it. Engines, echoes, metal wings beating the sky. Elias climbed to the roof of the old yard tower and saw them, dark ships cutting through the clouds, heading straight for them. He looked down at the wolves. This is it, he whispered. The father stepped up beside him. We stand together. The ships landed with a roar. Dozens of armored syndicate soldiers poured out. They marched like machines, surrounding the yard from every side. One stepped forward. Not a soldier, an officer. His armor was gold-trimmed. His voice echoed with authority. Hand over the ember. The rest of you may leave. Elias stood at the top of the stairs beside the father and the pup. No. The officer smiled. You refuse syndicate law? I refuse slavery. You don't want justice, you want control. The officer raised a hand. Take them. The fight was chaos. Drones buzzed overhead, firing blasts of heat. Elias ducked, swinging his saw and cutting one down. Sparks flew. The father lunged at two soldiers, knocking them flat with one swipe of his clawed paw. The mother, though injured, protected the rear. But it was the pup, small and glowing, who changed everything. He stood in the center of the yard and let the fire grow again. Not wild, not angry, controlled. He roared, and a ring of blue flame pushed out, throwing soldiers to the ground without killing. Elias saw one about to shoot. He charged, tackling the man before he could pull the trigger. Smoke filled the air. Fire and snow danced in a strange storm. The officer screamed, "Kill the human!" But Elias wasn't going down. Not today. He picked up a fallen blaster, aimed and fired at the control drone in the sky. It exploded. Syndicate forces lost their link. Confused. Disorganized. The wolves howled together. The pack was fighting as one. When it was over, the soldiers lay scattered. Many crawled away, dropping weapons. The officer knelt, defeated. Elias walked up to him. You brought war to a family. They're beasts, the officer spat. No, Elias said coldly. They're better than you. He turned his back and walked away. Later, as night fell, Elias sat beside the small campfire the wolves had made. The pup curled beside him, glowing gently. You fought well, the pup said. Elias chuckled. I'm too old for this. You're strong. Elias looked at the stars. Maybe. Or maybe I was just tired of watching good people suffer. The mother lay near him now, breathing slow. She whispered, We were hunted for so long. No one helped. No one cared. But you gave us a chance. Elias said nothing. He just stared at the flame in the pup's chest. Not just fire. Hope. The snowstorm returned that night, but it no longer brought fear. The enemy was gone. The wolves had survived, and Elias was no longer just a foreman. He had become part of something larger, something older than machines, older than syndicates. He had become part of a pack. The next morning, Malik stood beside Elias at the cliff's edge. Below them, wreckage from syndicate. Ships smoked quietly. Soldiers who had retreated left everything behind. More will come, Malik said. You know that, right? Elias nodded. That's why we can't stay here. Malik frowned. Then where will you go? Elias pointed. North. There's a canyon. Deep. Quiet. No signals reach it. We built a hidden storage site there during the old mining days. It's sealed, but I still have the codes. Malik looked uneasy. That's risky. You're not a soldier, Elias. Elias smiled. No, but I'm good with hidden places. Back at the freight yard, the wolves prepared to leave. The father carried supplies on his back. The mother wore a thermal cloak, wrapped around her thin body. The pup stood beside Elias, watching his every move. You really know a secret place? He asked. I do, Elias said. You'll be safe there. Warm. Hidden. The pup tilted his head. Will you come too? Elias paused. Then he knelt and said, Yes, as long as you'll have me. The pup nodded. Forever. The journey, north, was long. They moved at night, hiding during the day. Elias guided them through caves and frozen valleys, past old machines buried in snow. They passed ancient signs with faded letters. Sector 9, restricted mining zone. Danger. No entry, but Elias kept walking. He remembered every path, every locked gate, every place no one else visited. Finally, after 4 days, they reached it, the hidden den. It looked like just another cliff wall, but Elias brushed away snow and ice, revealing a steel door underneath. He tapped in a code. Clunk. The Door opened. Warm air rushed out. Lights flickered on, and behind it, a safe house built into the rock. Inside, the space was dusty but untouched. Old generators hummed to life. Crates of supplies waited like sleeping soldiers. The mother lay down on a heated platform and sighed deeply. The father curled beside her, for the first time looking truly at peace. The pup ran through the room, sniffing every corner, glowing slightly. With joy, Elias smiled. It wasn't much, but it was home. As days passed, the pack began to heal. The mother's wounds closed. The father began to speak more, and the pup, he grew stronger each day. His fire no longer burst out in fear. Now it flowed gently from his chest, like a heartbeat of light. Sometimes, he asked, Elias questions. Why do humans fight so much? Why did they call me a weapon? Why did you help us? Elias always answered the same. Because you deserved better. One night, as Elias cleaned the comm system, he caught a signal. A private message hidden on an old emergency channel. Syndicate command to Unit 4. Report. Any sighting of ember-blooded life forms? Elias's hand froze. The enemy wasn't done. They were still searching. He turned off the comm, rewired it, and destroyed the antenna. Then he sat quietly in the dark. The pup found him there. You're sad, he said. Elias nodded. They're still hunting you. Even now. The pup sat beside him. I'm not afraid anymore. Elias looked down. Why not? Because I have you. In the days that followed, Elias trained the family. He taught the father how to operate old doors and use mining scanners. He taught the mother how to cook with human tools. He taught the pup how to read simple signs. The pup learned fast. One night, he spelled a message on the wall using glowing dust from his flame. We are pack. But something else changed too. The pup's light began to grow brighter. Not wild, not burning. Controlled. Calm. It wrapped around him like armor. The father said it was the second awakening. The mother wept tears of pride. Elias stood silently, watching the small creature he once found half dead in the snow, now glowing like a star. Then came the dream. The pup woke in the middle of the night, trembling. I saw a mountain, he whispered, and something inside it, waiting. Elias frowned. What kind of something? A voice, the pup said, calling to me like it knows me. The father growled softly. The ember is awakening fully. Elias looked between them. What does that mean? The pup whispered. It means I'm not just a survivor anymore. I'm a key. The mountain in the pup's dream wasn't just a dream. Elias knew that now. It was real. A long-forgotten peak once mapped by old survey drones, but never explored. No mining teams dared go that far. Too unstable, too cold, too far from the main colony. And yet something was calling. A voice the pup could hear even while awake now. A whisper deep in his mind. Come home. The pack left the hidden den at first light. Elias walked in front, scanner in one hand, old rifle in the other. His coat whipped behind him like a worn-out flag. The father walked on his right, silent and alert. The mother walked slower, her body still healing, but her spirit stronger than ever. And the pup walked in the center, wrapped in his glowing cloak, a flame. He didn't shiver, didn't blink. His eyes never left the white horizon. As they reached the foot of the mountain, Elias stared upward. It was massive. Sharp peaks cut the sky. Ice walls glistened with blue light. This is it, he said. The pup nodded. I feel something inside. The father growled low. Is it a trap? Elias shook his head. I don't think so. He placed a hand on the icy wall. Suddenly a warm glow spread beneath his palm. Lines of orange fire cracked through the surface like veins. The mountain was responding to the pup, and slowly, a doorway opened. Inside, the mountain was hollow, a great cavern, warm with strange energy. Walls shimmered with gold and crystal. Fire floated in the air like dust, dancing in silence. At the center stood a platform, and on it, a stone. ancient, black, and pulsing with the same glow as the pup. The mother gasped. The Ember Stone. Elias stepped back. The pup walked forward, alone. The flames around him grew brighter, and then he touched it. A blinding light filled the chamber. Elias shielded his eyes. The wolves howled, not in fear, but awe, and in that light the pup began to rise. His body lifted gently above the platform. His flame spread across the room, touching every crystal, every wall, every stone. And then the voice returned. But this time Elias heard it too. Flameborn, you have returned. Visions filled the air. Old empires, alien kings. A race of Flameborn once ruled this side of the galaxy, not through power, but through peace. But their flame faded. They were hunted, destroyed. All except one bloodline, hidden in exile. The pup. The last heir. The final spark. When the light faded, the pup stood on the stone platform, stronger, older, wiser. His voice was deeper now, calmer. I remember everything, he said. The mother cried. The father bowed his head. Elias stepped forward. What now? The pup smiled softly. Now I begin again. As king? No, as protector. He walked down the steps. I will rebuild, not thrones, not armies, but hope. Suddenly, a rumble echoed through the cavern. Elias turned quickly. Company? The father sniffed the air. Syndicate? They had followed. Again. Dozens of soldiers entered the outer tunnel, their footsteps heavy, their guns raised. The same officer stepped forward, scarred, furious. This time, you won't escape. The pup stood tall. He didn't raise fire. He didn't attack. Instead, he walked forward, calm, steady. And when the officer aimed his weapon, the gun melted in his hands. The soldiers froze. Not from fear, from peace. A warmth filled the mountain. Not heat, not threat, but understanding. The ember was not just destruction, it was healing. The soldiers lowered their weapons. One dropped his helmet and stepped back. Another knelt. The officer gritted his teeth, but said nothing. He turned and left. Outside, the storm had ended. The sun, dim and pale, shone through thin clouds. Elias stood with the wolves, watching as the mountain sealed itself behind them. Not closing, just sleeping. The pup, no longer just a pup, stood beside Elias. Will, you stay with us? He asked. Elias smiled. I think this is where I belong. In time, stories would spread, of a fire that did not burn, of a man who stood beside wolves, of a spark that turned into light for a broken world. But in the end, it was never about a hero. It was about family and the fire they built together.